So the US dollar is on the rise, and though the reasons why this is happening are certainly interesting to some people, we're far more interested in uncovering exactly who it's helping and who's being hurt by its recent boom. So in today's video, what I want to do is take a closer look at who benefits from the dollar's surge and at what cost. Stick around. As we all know, the US dollar is surging at a time when the American economy has few obvious bright spots. Interest rates and looming recession are certainly clouding the current economy. Even so, the dollar is the strongest it's been in 2 decades, and it's poised to grow even stronger. The greenback's new strength is shaking economies and markets across the globe, creating both winners and losers along the way. The British pound hit an all-time low against the dollar early last week, and Britain's new finance minister announced a tax cut package that's intended to boost the nation's economy. Never before in history has the US dollar been as close to the value of the British pound, and the news created a sense of urgency at the British Central Bank. Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey issued a statement intended to calm the nation. He said that the bank is monitoring developments in financial markets very closely. Sounds like the folks across the pond have it all taken care of, that's for sure. And just like in the job market, where unemployment's historic lows have meant an abundance of opportunities for workers and yet labor shortages for companies, the dollar's rise above all other currencies has cut both ways. Recent global shocks, most notably the war in Ukraine, have really helped drive the dollar higher as investors, companies, and other nations have typically stored their reserves in dollars during turbulent times. But the most important reason the dollar is strengthening right now is to combat inflation. The Fed is raising interest rates in an attempt to combat now nearly constant price increases, and said last week that it expects to raise rates even further this year. As it continues to increase rates, the dollar will continue to get stronger. But who wins and who loses when the dollar is doing what it's doing right now? Let's dive first into the winning side, and among the biggest winners are US importers. This is simply because when companies are buying goods from abroad, the purchases are cheaper. For anybody who imports stuff from places like China and imports raw materials and energy from overseas, the strong dollar is going to be an obvious positive as long as those things are not priced in dollars. Beyond that, having a strong dollar muffles the effects of inflation for importers and ultimately for the final consumers of those products. US travelers are winners at this moment, as well as for the first time in 20 years, the dollar and the euro have reached parity, which means that the dollar is worth as much as the euro, and both currencies are still fairly close to even. So American travelers are getting better deals for hotels and dining out while traveling to Europe. And believe me, it's not just in Europe. After spending almost 3 weeks in Colombia myself in August, I found that what would be a $100 meal here was easily only costing somewhere closer to about $25 or $30 after tip down in Medellin. And that also includes $2 Uber rides, $2, $3 taxi rides. Boy, oh boy, was it a stress relief on the old wallet traveling down to South America. So basically it means that Americans are really winning. You know, if you're traveling anywhere across the globe right now, one could say that the world is on sale. But it's not looking good for everyone who is being hurt by the stronger dollar. For starters, multinationals are among those most negatively affected. Executives at multinational companies based in the US have begun complaining about how strong the US dollar is affecting their bottom line. Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff, he said during a recent earnings call that they had a great quarter, but yet again, the dollar had an even stronger quarter. Salesforce, headquartered in San Francisco, but it really sells its software around the globe, and it does so in different currencies. Benioff noted a stronger dollar could cost the company over $800 million in current financial year, in this financial year. And whenever a company like Salesforce converts what it makes in another country to dollars, it gets squeezed. Emerging economies are also being hit hard right now, and this is because the majority of global commodities are priced in dollars, which means that the oil and grain and soybeans growing in emerging markets will all be priced higher. To make matters worse, a stronger dollar is straining countries with debts denominated in dollars, which is the case for most emerging economies. As a result, their interest payments will become more expensive and refinancing will be beyond budgetary reach. Many American exporters are also feeling the adverse effects of the strengthening US dollar. What is great news for importers is bad news for many exporters. When the dollar is strong, American-made goods are increasingly more expensive and thus less appealing to shoppers in other countries. Companies who have long relied on international orders should expect to see a decrease in sales as a result. Now, another area damaged by a strong dollar is US tourism. People living in a number of other countries which have currencies that are weaker now than the US dollar might reconsider traveling to the US, and this is because their visits become expensive as the dollar gains more and more ground on their home currency. It's interesting to see the effects that a strong dollar can have on such a wide variety of things within the US and global economy. Having your finger on the pulse is always a good idea, especially if you're going to be directly impacted by currency fluctuation. Whether the impact is in your investment portfolio or your travel plans, having an idea about the effect will occur because of changes in exchange rates, and that's going to result in money saved, earned, or wasted, depending on what your plans are. And we all know which of the three that we prefer here. So have you been affected by the booming dollar? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe here to the channel. Share this with other people who might benefit from it. And until next time, keep on cash flowing.